The latest whodunit hits theaters, and it's a fun one.
And we learn a lot about Agatha Christie. So much about Agatha Christie.
It's See How They Run on this episode of the Finding Good podcast with Kevin and Milton.
All right, Milton, we're back with another episode, and this time we See How They Run.
Yes.
And I love how neither one of us can ever remember the name of this movie.
I once called it Run, Run, Run.
Yeah, it's something, keep running.
Right.
That running movie. It's whatever, we don't know. There was a Tom Hanks movie that was like, had run in it too. Do you remember the name of that?
No.
It was
Forrest Gump?
Well,
There was a lot of running in Forrest Gump.
He didn't run in Forrest Gump, but that's not the one I'm thinking of. I don't know. It was, he was...
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me.
That, yeah.
Well, that's kind of about running.
I guess.
It's legit. I really thought Run was in the title. All right. So we liked this movie a lot. I think we laughed a lot.
Yeah, it was fun.
We didn't have high expectations.
No, we didn't really know what it was about until we jumped in, which kind of happens when you try to see a movie every week, and you know we try not to see too many horror movies because that's not really our thing, and we try not to watch movies that are questionable, content. So it limits the possibilities, the options. And this was there, and it seemed to check all the boxes. But in the end, it was worth it.
It was.
Yeah.
I still don't get it though.
What do you mean you don't get it?
I mean, I don't understand. Was this an Agatha Christie movie? Like, was this a legit Agatha Christie movie?
No.
So it was not.
No.
But it was around an Agatha Christie play.
Yes.
So it was inspired by Agatha Christie.
No.
I don't understand.
Okay, so it was a movie about a movie that was going to be filmed about the play based on the book by Agatha Christie. Did that make any sense to you?
I mean, it did, but like Agatha Christie was literally in it. Like she was in it.
Agatha Christie's dead. She was not in the movie. Agatha Christie died, let me see, I have the information here. She died in 1976. So no.
She was, but okay, I get it. Like, because she's an old person. So she wasn't.
She's not an old person, she's a dead person.
Which means she's old. Like she's
she's not old. She's dead.
Whatever she is, she was inspired. Like she was in the movie.
She was not in the movie. She's dead.
Her character was in the movie.
Someone played Agatha Christie in this movie.
There you go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
She looked like Agatha Christie, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you try to do when you cast people to play other real people.
I guess I was just really confused because the whole movie was centered around this play, and since I don't know a lot about Agatha Christie, I know she's written like a couple books, but like
a couple books.
She's written
a couple books. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Do you know that she is in the Guinness Book of World Records as like the greatest fiction writer ever?
Of course I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why would I know that?
Well, you should know that because not only I have some information here. You got to know. She was a writer during the golden age of detective fiction. Guinness Book of World Records, best-selling fiction writer of all time. Her novels have sold more than 2 billion copies.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Give Agatha some respect, Kevin.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah. And not just that.
Oh, you got more.
She is a dame. And I don't mean that in the like street version. You know what dame means. Like you know what that means?
Yeah, it's like the sword person. Like you go and you have the sword tapped on your shoulders and
yes.
barely cuts your ear off.
It's the female version of knighthood.
Knighthood, yes.
Yeah. So Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, she's dead too.
Yes.
Yes, they're all dead. I don't care about dead people.
Wow. Man, this is not going well at all.
I didn't mean that.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay, right.
Basically knighted her, the female version of that. So she's a very important person. I mean, she's honored, decorated, a great author. I mean, if I read you the list of her writings, you're going to be like, oh, because you probably didn't know, since it seems like you don't know anything. that she wrote a bunch of Death on the Nile,
Okay, that was a good movie.
you know, Murder on the Orient Express. Good movie. These are books, Kevin. Books.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I didn't read.
The movies are based on the books.
Milton, can I ask you?
Yes.
Have you ever read an Agatha Christie book?
No.
Shut up.
No, I have not.
Why are we still talking about Agatha
Okay,
Christie?
fine. You just put me in my place.
All right.
Sorry.
So.
But I did know she was dead, at least.
There you go. I'm still confused.
Kevin, at the end of the movie, was like, oh, she's dead. Well,
Right,
she didn't
yeah.
actually die in the movie.
These movies are not really spoiler. These movies are not really like I don't try to solve these movies.
You don't?
No,
Why?
because I always get it wrong. Always.
Well, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, see if you can find some clues.
But I don't
see
even
what-
try because it really makes me feel stupid. And so I just enjoy it. I just enjoy the
Okay,
moment.
well,
Yeah.
I guess that's one approach. I try to figure it out.
You do.
It's a whodunit. I want to know who done it.
Did you figure this one out?
No, not even close. Not even close. And we're
We're
not
not
going to do
going-
spoilers on this one in case you
Well-
want to see it because
Except Agatha Christie doesn't die. I mean, it's a little spoiler.
I guess, but it doesn't
She's
matter.
not going to die in the
You're-
movie because she has to continue writing all of her books.
Right, but the important thing is not whether she lives or dies, but who is the bad guy.
Yes.
And that one we won't tell you.
No.
Go check it out.
I
fun.
do love how they went a little, like they broke the fourth wall.
Yeah.
They looked like right at the camera and they talked to you a couple times, like a little wink wink throughout, which was really funny. And the comedy in this movie was so pretentious. Like it was
loved
so
it.
my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And that was an English joke. Did it land?
No, it didn't, but I get it now that you explained the joke because that's how comedy works. Let me make the joke and then explain it to you. Funny. Anyway,
That's fair critique. I understand and accept that. So, but yeah, it was a really entertaining whodunit. Neither of us figured it out, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We do try to find something else to talk about than just a movie. Anybody
Right.
can go to movies and talk about the movie.
Right.
We really try to find, okay, what's the life connection here? What's our go deep on see how they run? I had to remind myself what it was called.
See how they run. Yeah. Well, to me, the funnest part of the movie and is this relationship between the inspector and the constable.
Yes.
Sam Rockwell and I hope I say it right, Saoirse Ronan. Is that her name?
Better than I would have.
Anyway, great actors, and they're thrust into this murder mystery, and he's the inspector. He's like the head detective on the case, and she's like this rookie that's constable, and he's supposed to mentor her and show her the ropes and teach her how this thing works. She has certain skills that she's really good at, and she just wants to really do her best for him. And that relationship and that dynamic, I just thought it was fun to watch. And it just reminds me of relationships I had where either I've been mentored by someone or I'm mentoring someone.
Right.
And sometimes that you go into that on purpose because it's a good thing, and sometimes it's just thrust upon you, because you have no choice.
Right.
And the dynamics of, working with people and teaching and learning, to me, it's so interesting. And so much of the workplace rises and falls on how good those relationships are.
Yeah. I've been in a really bad mentee-mentor relationship, and
You were the mentee.
I was the intern. Let's call it the intern.
Okay, yeah,
Kind of the
yeah.
same thing, right? You go and you try to learn this job, and I got a broadcast technology degree at BSU.
Oh.
And I graduated way long ago. And I really wanted to work in radio. And so I got an internship at the Eagle, which I believe is still broadcasting here locally. It was
What kind of station was that?
classic rock.
Ooh,
Yes.
cool.
So,
Okay.
bunch of guys with beards, and they're all longevity careers in radio. And I'm this new kid coming in.
Can I ask a question? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I need to know this. Did you have a mullet at this time?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay. I just am picturing you with a mullet.
Oh, I was totally out of place. I
Okay.
did not fit at this radio
Okay,
station.
gotcha.
This was an internship out of college. I fit into some program. They probably saw me and went, nope. Like, oh well. And it reflected. I thought I was going to learn all about radio and be mentored correctly and like be brought up in radio. Instead, I got coffee. I cleaned the office. I took the garbage out, and I did that for an entire summer. Walked out of that so stinking bitter, swearing I would never in my life mentor anyone like this again. And it's amazing what that gave me. It can actually go well. And so I related a lot with this whole character of the constable coming in. She's all excited and she's ready to learn and ready to absorb. And then she's pretty let down, which can definitely happen. So we're going to talk about this a little bit, this mentor-mentee relationship.
Yeah, because I think it's important because if you're just getting started, you're going to probably be under someone who's supposed to guide you and teach you. And if you've been doing this for a while, at some point they're going to hand you somebody to teach this whatever it is at the time. So it's important to be good at what that is. So if you're the intern, how can you be a good intern? If you're the boss, let's say, how can you be a good boss? Because if both of those things are working well, some really good things can happen. I've seen that, but I've seen enough of the, oh my goodness, what are we doing here? Like, I can't stand being around you anymore.
True story.
Kind of thing. So now you've been on both sides of the coin. I've been on both sides of the coin. I remember, and it kind of, to me, the most important thing for an intern is humility.
For sure.
Coming into a situation, not thinking that you know everything, and just being willing to just be open and learn and understand. As an example, I remember one guy came into our school. I was a chaplain at a Christian school, and he was the new teacher for that year, like landed, and he was assigned to another teacher who had been there to kind of, guide him and mentor him in the situation. And I think the right approach in this situation for him would have been, okay, I don't know this place really well. I'm new here. I'm gonna just sit here and I'm gonna do my job, but I'm gonna see the lay of the land, see how the people are, see what the dynamics are.
Absorb a bit.
Absorb and just see how it is. And then maybe after that first year, now that I know a little bit about how things work, then I'll start kind of implementing my own flavor of what I do in the classroom. That's not what he did. Okay? Here's what he decided to do. He decided to say well, nobody around here knows how to teach the subject I teach better than I do.
Uh-oh.
And he already came with this air of just arrogance and I'm better than everybody. And he's like, oh, and there's not enough representation of races around here, so I'm going to tell you how that works. And pretty much by halfway through the year, nobody wanted to be around this person anymore.
Yeah.
It's and he had just antagonized, especially the wrong people, right? There's always power players in every situation.
Yep.
And he had, and by the end of the year,
he was gone.
Yeah, it's or maybe it lasted 2 years. I don't remember exactly, and I'm thinking if you would have just chilled for a little bit, been humble, tried to learn the ropes, I think it would have been great.
I call this serving. When I go into a situation, you want to serve as much as possible, and it's hard. It's easier to say than do,
Sure.
But I believe when you really go in with a posture in your heart of I'm going to serve this environment first.
Yeah.
Now, certainly, we all can't be volunteers and serve until the end of time. That's not how life works. But I'm saying first, that's your heart. To show up and serve. So yes, being humble, being willing to learn. I hate learning, by the way. It's so annoying.
Why? Learning is great.
No, learning's the worst.
No, it's not. You get to grow. You get to learn new things.
But it takes so much time. I would rather do something I know and just do really well than spend time fumbling around, farting around for an hour trying to learn WordPress and how to change a navigation. But no, I just want to do it the way I know how to do it and move on with life.
Man, you are such a disappointing person to me right now. Like, come on, try to expand your circle of influence.
It's just
learn new skills.
It takes so much time, but learn. That's what we're encouraging you to do.
You're not encouraging that.
Well, I can be encouraged in this podcast too, and so that's definitely my takeaway. The heart of wanting to learn definitely needs to. I'm missing that for sure.
Yeah, no, that is actually. I'm kind of obsessed with learning.
Yes.
Okay. So when I came into this job as chaplain, right, for Project 887, I've never been in radio or in media before. This was new to me. And I always do this, and sometimes I've taken it too far, but I always do this, which is I come into this new situation, and I'm like, I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm going to say yes to everything. Yeah. Everything you ask me to do, I'm going to say yes to, unless it's, morally, reprehensible.
Right.
But,
yes.
but so I came in here and I knew nothing about radio, and they're like, hey, record this. Okay, good. How do I do that? Okay, press these buttons. Okay, boom. And it's awful. And I do it. It's the worst thing ever done. But then I learned, like, okay, don't hit that button. Hit that button. Don't slide it so high. Slide the volume down low. And then, okay. And then it's like, hey, can you call this person and record the audio and ask them certain questions? And I'm just like, yeah. I'll do it, and I don't do it right, and then they're telling me, okay, next time you do it this way, and it's okay, great, and hey, do you want to learn how to do a radio show? And I'm like, yes, let's do that, and I get on there and I take the radio station off air like 6 times, hitting the wrong button.
But see, I love that, and that really talks about why I hate learning.
Okay.
Because you have to typically fail and do stuff bad in that process. And I hate failing. I hate doing things bad. And so I just avoid learning. I just avoid learning it so that I excel at all the other stuff that I've known how to do for 30 years. There's a balance, right?
Yeah,
there's
for sure.
a balance. You can't say yes to everything and be horrible at everything. You've got to be able to pace yourself well so that you get well. But then you also got to be able to challenge yourself and learn new things.
Right.
And be okay with dropping the ball as you learn it.
To me, it's the best way I learn, right? And I think that transitions to this next thing, which is like overachieving, like going the extra mile in your situation. And I know that that's not a super popular idea right now because people don't want to do more than what they're paid to do. And I kind of get that. I get that because pay is looked at as I get paid for what I do, and if I do more, shouldn't I get paid more?
Sure, right.
Right? So that's the challenge, and I understand that reality in the mind.
There's actually a thing that it's called.
Oh, it has a name.
It's called Act Your Wage.
Act Your Wage.
Act Your Wage.
Okay.
And it's a big thing online. A lot of influencers are talking about this, encouraging people to act their wage. And this is where you show up for a job, and let's say you make $11 an hour.
Okay.
And you're like, and your boss comes and asks you to do something that's not necessarily in your job description.
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that because you don't pay me enough. So it's this entitlement of it's this entitlement mentality of that wage is going to determine how much I bring to the table. So that wage is determining my contribution. And my encouragement, especially if you're in that mentor, you're beginning, you're entering in a new job, my encouragement is do what you do. Say yes to everything. Overachieve and absorb, and really it's how you stand out. Especially if everyone around you is acting their wage. It's really easy to stand out right now.
That's true.
And impress the upper echelons.
I'd encourage you, and because my fairness hat, I actually have a fairness hat. Bring it in sometime. When I put on my fairness hat, I get that acting your wage, right? It's fair. Like you've asked me to do this amount of work, and you said I do this amount of work and you're going to pay me this amount of money. That's fair, right? And if you ask me to do more, but you keep paying me the same, that seems unfair.
Sure.
And I get that. And I agree to some extent. What I would say is change your perspective on it. Think of it this way. The more that you do above what you're paid, don't look at it as it's unfair, they're not paying me. Look at it as I'm investing.
No, that's good.
I'm investing. So what is an investment? An investment is something that I put it in now for greater returns later. So if I'm that person who's investing my time into this company or this ministry situation or whatever, or relationship even, over time, the more I do that, then the more opportunities will come to me to make the more money or get the raise or, go up in the company and have more benefits or whatever it is. So don't think of it as like, no, they're not going to pay me now. I'm not going to do it now. Do it now, and then later those gains will come to you.
It's really good. I've had the opportunity to start a couple businesses on my own. I've worked for myself for about 20 years almost. And I started a web design company. And I remember my first 2-3 websites I did for absolutely nothing. Don't pay me anything. I will work and work and work and work. And I not only shot them something like, I spent a lot of time on it. And then the next one I did it again. And I did it again. And eventually my wife was kind of like, you need to start charging for your time. You're spending a lot of time on this. And I'm like, I know, I will. And I got good testimonies and I got good relationships, and through those I got good referrals. And then I charged like $250, right, for a website. And then by the end I was charging $2,500, $3,000 for the website. Fast forward 10 years. And there's a lot of movement in between. But show up and impress and do a good job without that expectation of financial compensation up front.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
I think that's good. Now let's talk about the bosses.
Yes.
Ooh, the bosses.
Those stinking bosses.
The mentors, if you will.
The man.
Yeah. At some point, unless you're working for yourself, you're going to be under the direction and the seeing eye of a person.
Yes. Yeah.
And those people also have a responsibility in these relationships. Just because you're the boss, you're in this driver's seat, doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want, however you want.
No.
And the times that I've been a supervisor, I think that humility is still there. Even bosses have to be called to be humble. And there have been times where someone that was working under me has had to come and truly be honest with me about, here is how this relationship is going and I'm not enjoying it, and we need to change something. I remember my second church that I pastored in, I thought it would be cool to hire students to come work for me, during the summer. And I didn't really know much about supervising a student. And I remember one student came up and said, you hired me and you're not really giving me anything to do. And I don't know if this is a good job to have, because I'm not doing anything and I'm not learning anything. And I was like, oh yeah, a boss should give the person something to do. But I guess I hadn't organized myself well enough. I hadn't cast enough vision and forward thinking to say like, okay, here are some things we're going to need. So it was a learning time for me to sit down and say like, if I'm going to be this boss, how can I do it in a way that I'm making this situation something great for the person, where they feel like, yeah, this is fun, or this is exciting, or even challenging, and I wasn't doing that.
I always look at this as an opportunity to, you used this word before, and I think from a boss or a mentor perspective, just when you're working with someone else and training them, invest in them.
Yes.
Invest in them as a person. I always look at it as, okay, I've got you for this short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Whether you're an intern or whether this is just a temporary thing, this isn't till we're not going to be working together till the end of life. And so I always revert back to my time at the radio station. What did I, excuse me, what did I leave that radio station with? Nothing. I didn't learn how to run the board. I didn't know how the computers worked. I knew how to go get coffee for people and empty a trash can. That's what was invested in me. And I'm like, never will I do that.
Yeah.
And I think from a mentor perspective, it takes an incredible amount of time and effort and intentionality to invest in another person and make that meaningful for them.
Yeah, and not just invest in the job skills, right?
No.
And, here's what you do, A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. But also invest personally to truly get to know the person. Because here's what you're going to find out when you work with people. People are unique.
Yeah.
And you can't talk to one person the same way you talk to another. You can't challenge a person the same way you challenge another. And it's only by getting to know them on a personal level that you know what you can and can't say. I coach volleyball.
Okay.
And I have a 21 girls that I oversee, right, on 2 teams. And they're all so unique. And I know the ones that I can just get in her face and be like, hey, come on. Like, you can do better. Like, come on. And then the other one's like, hey, come over here. I got something to tell you. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay. And how did I learn that?
Yeah.
It was by getting to know them, right? And in practice, and not just like throwing balls at them, but actually conversing.
Yeah.
I said, oh, how's it going? Like, how things at home? Those kinds of things. And I know we're trying to, I guess there's a movement to kind of eliminate that in the workplace, and I would say don't do that.
Really?
Don't. Oh,
really,
I would say.
No, I mean, really, there's a...
Yeah.
Why?
Let work be work.
Okay.
Let work be work.
Well, you're talking about like personally getting to know people.
Yeah.
On a personal level, or just getting to know how they think, communicate.
Right. And I would say like, no, let's get. Now, it shouldn't get in the way of the goals of the company, but at some point there has to be some camaraderie, I think, and I think it makes the working relationship better.
Well, we do that so well here.
We do
at the station group that we work at, and we know it. We know each other's personality tests. Mm-hmm. They force us through these questions.
Yeah,
we have to answer like 150 questions, and then you get rated.
You
on a
love
scale.
it. You know you love it.
Oh, it's great. But what it does is it really shines a light on how different we all are.
Yeah,
and we talk about those personalities all the time of like, okay, I can't do this with this person because they will respond poorly. And if you know that, it's like a little bit of a secret power. I laugh. I think back. I coach tennis.
Yeah.
So I've done this for three years, and I had a new student come in, and she was really quiet this past season, and she had never touched a tennis ball, and she's on the JV team. And so I was really excited, and I'm very like outgoing, and so I'm like, oh, let's do this. And I was kind of happy and around her, and I was very extroverted. Mm-hmm. She's very quiet and timid, and all of a sudden she just stops in the middle of the court and just starts bawling.
Oh.
And I didn't know what to do. I go up to her and I'm like, is everything okay? Did I say anything wrong? And she just runs off.
Wow.
And our other coach, who's female, goes and talks with her and sits with her and talks with her for like 20 minutes. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, well, let's wrap this thing up and let's come back and play some tennis. Come on.
She's got to get her serve down.
That's right. I'm like, this is a tennis court. Like, let's go. So I think if I would have had a little bit more ability to see her and understand her personality, I probably would have handled that situation a lot different.
Yeah. It's important. It's important. And the other thing I'd say, having been a boss before, is the ability to be really honest.
Huge.
With the people that you're overseeing. And on a couple of levels. One, of course, is just integrity. Like, just be a truthful person. Don't do things that are, behind the backs of people and all that kind of stuff. That, to me, that's an obvious one. Like, just be a good person, right? But the other one is being honest about the relationship and about how well the person is doing, right? I'll never forget. This was crazy. So I was running a summer camp, and a Christian summer camp. So it's 6 weeks, and we hire someone to be the pastor. So that person's job is to just be the spiritual creator, environment, preaching, the whole thing for the whole 6 weeks. Okay, and it's a hard job.
That's a big job.
Yeah, it's a hard job. And I was being a pastor. It's my job to help this person do well as a pastor. Well, this person did not deliver. I mean, just did not deliver. And it tried. Okay. Take time. Like everybody has to do this job right now, like cleaning out the horse barns or something. But you're not going to do that. You go over, take some time, work on your message that you're going to preach, in a week to the students. Like really nail it down. We want to give you extra time so you, and just could not do it, right? And then there were other dynamics that were negative, and it just came to the point where, if I had to be honest, this person was not going to be able to deliver what we needed. And it was time to say goodbye. And this was a friend of mine.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was a friend of mine. And man, that was a rough night. It took several hours of conversation and of talking and just saying, like, look, this isn't going to work out. What's going on? Like, obviously the person was struggling with some stuff. Yeah. And I wound up having to fire this person.
But in the middle of camp.
In the middle of the camp, like assign somebody else to do the job now because, it's not working. And, but in the end, when I think about that situation, here's the truth. I could have done the easy thing and just left the person in the position. It would have been easier. I wouldn't have had to find another person and all that stuff. Retrain somebody, but this organization would have suffered and the person would have suffered.
True, yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than failing over and over and over and not having any success. And the best thing for this person was to say, you've got to find success somewhere else because it's just not going to happen here. Wow. And I had to honor that person. And I know it didn't feel honoring at the moment for this person, obviously, but in the end, it turned out okay. And even our relationship was fine. Yeah. Because just the way we did it. But the point is, don't leave somebody where they're not delivering, or make sure you don't hold back the information the person needs so that they can succeed just because it's hard and it's a tough conversation. So
that's good.
That's honesty that you have to bring to the table.
Can I look at honesty from a different angle?
Sure.
I think honesty from, if you're that mentor boss position, can really be powerful if you are honest with your own shortcomings.
Oh, well.
If you're able to just go, and not only in the workplace, but also just with life at large, if you're able to get your group together and just do some life with them, I always find, do a Bible study or do a book study with your team. Cool. Something that gets you out of the workplace and gets you talking about everyday issues. And be honest in your failings in the past, be honest in your failings in the future, what you're struggling with. Look, I know I'm teaching you. I don't like learning. I have a struggle with learning. That's being honest. And let's talk about that for a little bit, what that looks like. And then at the end, if you feel called to do so, pray for each other. Like, what's going on in your life, and let's just take it to God, and let's just pray. And I find if you can be honest outside of the environment you are learning in, it will go such a long way with your team and really help rally everybody around what you're trying to accomplish.
There you go. I think that's some good advice for both interns, for bosses.
I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, good. Well, that does it today for Finding Good Podcasts. We want to really invite you to like, subscribe, hit that bell so that you know when our new content comes out. Share our podcast with those that you know. And we're going to have another one here pretty soon for you. So until then, we'll see you next time.